So welcome to the Morasha show. I've got Rahul. We work together. We've I think we've been going through this for a while to get you on, Rahul. You've been and it's good to have you because there's a different point of view. I mean, both of us, we see the customers writing to us, and there's so much of writing that we get back to give them feedback on things and products. And what better than to get you on?
Namaskar, and thank you for having me on the show, Swev.
Yeah. So I think let's get to the topic. The topic is lights. Interesting because I mean we've all gone through it. Even I've gone through it as a journey on buying the right lights, and I think you've gone through it for the past so many years of selling it, and the kind of questions that you get. So I thought let's have you on and start off with my first question to you, which is why does somebody really need aux lights?
So, the way the OEM headlamps are, they're usually not sufficient enough for most riding types. And this is something that you can easily observe. I mean, you don't need rocket science unless you are uh, riding in the city. You would usually realize that the lighting is not enough as soon as you step out of the city. So it's definitely one of the must-haves from a safety perspective for any rider, and of course, from an ergonomics perspective, it's awesome.
So, so let's take my journey. I think it'll be more relatable to how do I go about. So I've set up and I say, hey, you know what? I need to pick up aux lights. What would your advice be to somebody who has to pick up aux lights, and what should I be really looking forward to looking at instead of just I know the whole game is lumens. So if you can answer that part of it, is it lumens or is there something else that somebody should really be looking for in buying a good quality aux light? So what is that?
So, most important thing for me when I would want to buy a light would be to understand uh, what what task I'm trying to solve, or what area I'm trying to light up by getting these lights on. Um, as you said, a lot of people usually talk about lumens, and lumens are a very basic way of understanding what lights you're buying. It's like um, you talking on a ballpark saying, okay, this is the type of a car I want. So once you have the lumens, you could definitely know that that's the amount of lighting you're looking at. But problem with the word lumens is the way, first of all, the way it's measured, and I'm not going to get into that technicality now, but also that for a general person, I mean, if I talk to you and say you need 2000 lumens or 3000 lumens, there is no way for us to quantify how much that is going to be in terms of what we are going to be seeing on the road. I mean, do I make sense? I mean, are you I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it's like,
definitely. Yeah, I mean, like you said, the lumens part is like I don't know how much I need to brighten up the road for me to ride at night. So I mean, as somebody who's now gone through it, I feel that there's more parameters that some I should be looking at before making that purchase. So what are those parameters apart from lumens that you're trying to say then?
sure. So I'll answer that, but I'll just give you another example of lumens. Like
Yeah.
one of the common questions that we get while buying luggage is how many liters should I of volume should I go for in when I'm buying luggage? And the problem is that we don't have a reference point. So usually the people usually we would say I would need clothes for about 3 or 4 days. Or sometimes people will talk to us about saying I need it equal to a cabin baggage size at least. So what I'm trying to get at is just like that. Since we don't have much of reference point, lumens usually is not a very good reference point to be talking about. But that being said, it's definitely a good. It gives you a good ballpark estimate of the lighting that you're looking at. Now coming back to the question, I mean, what are the things that matter? So as I said, the most important thing would be to really know what zone or what area you're looking at. For example, if I ride, let's say, at 100 odd kilometers or 80 odd kilometers per hour being my maximum speed, and I want and I know that the most of the riding that I do is highway not off-road. So I would know that the area that I'm looking at would be kind of a place where my headlight light kind of starts to fade away, and and probably a good enough distance to know that's the region that I want covered. So to put it in a basic ways, the when I'm riding, this is the spot, this is the area, this is the corners that I want covered, and that really helps you know the type of lighting that you would want to invest in.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question? I mean,
Yep. So zone is important, and I think that that's something now people have started. I mean, there's a lot of people asking us as well now. Is that the zone that I need to be in? So it's a good sign. What is the other one that you're saying? Is there another parameter?
so of course there are plenty, and we'll speak about them too. I mean, for me, what matters is the color temperature of the lighting. What matters to me is the what is the weatherproofness, and I'll come to that too, of the light. What matters to me is not just the, as you said, zone. So I mean, there are various ways of looking at the reason I was using the word area is, so there is one is where you the light can, the zone generally to me would mean the, if you look at it, the lighting pattern from a top view, you would say, okay, this is the area that I would want the light covered. But if it's, since it's 3D, you would want to see the height as well, right? I mean, the height at which the light needs to cover. For example, if I'm off-roading, and I know that I'm going to go into the jungle, or uh, let's say mountains, I would want a wider spread and also a higher spread. And one of the reasons I would want that is because if I'm standing and riding, I don't want a bush to hit me on my shoulder or my helmet. So I want to have that zone and that area which kind of covers both three dimensionally the area I want to have lit. So to give you a good example of what I would mean by this is, let's just keep the distance, or the distance out of uh, discussion right now. But if I have a spot, the area which it will cover in front of me will be much narrower. The tunnel of the lighting will be much lesser in diameter when I compare it to a spread or a driving combo. Now, driving combo would mean, usually would mean the top two being spot and the bottom two being spread. And what I mean by top two and bottom two is just a way of looking at the top half of the light giving you a spot pattern, and the bottom half of the light giving you a spread pattern. So spread pattern being so that you can, your light is being spread on the road to give you that region of light from where you want the potholes and the speed breakers and what have you covered, which is a more immediate actionable area, versus the spot focusing right at the center of the road further away, so that you have more time to observe, see, and react to things that are coming towards your way.
Got it. So if I have to recap and make it more layman, a zone is basically if you want a cornering, if you wanted something to be a cornering light, you want it to be a flood, or do you want it to be a spot? Is that what it is, right? Generally.
Yes, that's correct. That's how even Baha Designs puts it. That's the how they qualify the zone as.
Yeah. And I think one of the other questions that I generally get asked is if I've just will my light just be a spotlight, or can I keep changing them? And I see in the market that there is quite a few options that you get. So is that all? They're all changeable, right? At this point in time.
Yes and no. So okay. So the way most of the, so Baha was a pioneer in this early on when they came up with these changeable lenses. But now most of the companies, good companies, have changeable lenses. What that means is that one, so let me backtrack for a second. A light, any aux light will have, of course, the LEDs which are throwing out the lights. It could be HIDs, but we're not going there at the moment. So the lights, then there is a deflector, and the casing, and on the front will be the deflector, or the lens which will decide how the light is being dispersed. Dispersed could mean focused or could be broken into directions. So to answer on a more layman side, these lenses, when they are changed, the light is diffracted in the way that you would want it to be spread across or focused on the road.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
if now coming speaking a little more technical, because I would want to cover that too. I'm not sure whether it's, I mean, I don't want to go too much into detail, but the way these LED lights are designed, and I think we've spoken about it before, is the technology goes into not just the way the LEDs are designed, but also the deflectors, as in uh, the high reflective mirror type finish deflector that you see inside. Now, the way a spotlight would be different from and I'm talking about the LED light right now, not the deflector being spot, or the, as in the front lens being spot or spread. Is these lights, when they are actually put on the IC, as in on the circuit board, uh, there is a silicon layer or a silicon design that is also usually where the technology goes, and on top of which this LED is usually put. Now that silicon, or that dome, or that the way this LED is put on the circuit board will decide how the focus of that LED's origin will be. Now, on top of this, the uh, highly reflective or mirrorish deflector that you see will help focus this light further. And then the third will be the lens that you see on the front of the light when you're seeing, the first thing that you see when you see a aux light. So all of these three combined will give you output. So coming back to this question that you asked, um, if you're can I be changing my lights from a spot to spread? So with the current LED that you have, you already have a distance and the lumens being pre-decided. As soon as you buy a light, you've decided on that. Now when you put a spot or a spread pattern lens on it, you are changing the characteristics of the way this is being thrown out through the whole kit, but it will not um, change the way the LED capabilities are. So what that means is, if I am if I have a spotlight, I could do, let's say, a spot LED, let's say a racer edition from Baha, which is a spot specific light. The
Yeah.
distance which this LED light will throw is going to be much further than the spot of the, let's say, Pro or the Sports series. Now, because the way the LED is designed, even if you change the lenses and let's say have all the three lights as spot lens, and I'm talking about the lens again, the polycarbonate or the lens on the front, the distance is already decided because of the way the mirror polish deflector and the LED is designed. So when a person is buying a light, he would want to have a discussion of the speed with which he rides at, what is the distance he would want to get covered. Sometimes, like for example, I know that I'm much faster to react on a short distance, and I'm much slower to react when I'm seeing when people are coming like way ahead. I mean, for a further distance, what I mean by that is that my usual focus on when I'm riding is closer to my bike rather than further ahead. I know a lot of riders who have their center of focus much further away, probably like 40 feet ahead or 30 feet ahead of when they're riding compared to what I ride. So like these are very small things, but these are some things that you need to know when you're riding, the area that you would want to the light to be focused on, and whether the spot that you're talking about, coming back to the same question, whether the spot that you're going to be buying, does it cover that distance that I'm trying to focus on.
Got it. So let me ask you this then: if you were to choose the zone on your left and your right, what would they be and why?
You mean when I'm riding?
Yeah, when you're choosing, if you're choosing, I'll give you the thing that you're choosing a light for yourself and your lighting style. What would be your zones on the left? Would it be different to the zones on the right, or would you keep them both at the same zone setup?
Okay, so for me, they would be equal because I usually like to off road more than on road. But for people who are riding on the road, usually one would say in India, I mean, because the oncoming traffic is from your right. You there is if you're putting a spot on the right, you're spending that much of energy focusing right on the center of the road rather than focusing on the area where there is oncoming traffic and there is usually a divider, or you really don't want to be focusing light on that side of the road. So for a person who for a person, it could depend on where he would want to use his lights and lumens to the best of the ability. So some people would probably put a spot on the right side and a spread on the left. That way it doesn't even obstruct or the view of people who are the oncoming traffic per se. So it totally depends.
Depends. Yeah, got it. Okay, so one of the things that I see on even Baha is the data sheets, and a lot of people are now getting into understanding what a data sheet is for lights. What should somebody be looking in there?
So, okay. So, the what we were speaking about earlier was we were using the word area and zones, right? So, when you look at a eagle's view or top view of when you're riding on the road, there'll be a certain pattern of light that will be thrown on the road, right? And if you if you look at it from a graph perspective, the light will fade in a certain area, it will focus on a certain area, and it will spread in a certain area. So there will be multiple patterns going on the top view, right? Now, what these data sheets do is they do two things. They list out these patterns. It might be a lighting pattern, it might be an isolux plot, which is basically the area in which the light is being most luminance, as in the most lit area versus the lesser lit area and so forth. And these data sheets also give you the power usage, the lumens, the IP rating. So IP rating is something that I wanted to cover as well. I mean, basically the cases in which these lights are usually IP rated, and IP is a rating that could help you decide whether any product, electronical product or electrical product in the market, how weatherproof or waterproof or dust proof it is. So the higher the IP rating, the more waterproof or water resistant or dust proof or dust resistant it is. So this definitely helps you know the kind of badgering your lights will take if you decide to ride on a, let's say, a river, or if you're planning to be riding closer to water, or during heavy rains and what have you.
Yeah. So I've got a fun question for you, and something that even I
So
get a
this
lot
wasn't
asked.
fun for you then.
No, no, this was all technical. I've got a real fun question which I keep getting asked. What is the cost associated with a sport to a pro to a to a racer to an Excel? So why am I paying all that extra money to go up? And for somebody who's just getting there, they just think that it's just the light that's throwing light out. So what is there a technical answer that that helps people to understand that the more you pay, what do you get?
So okay, so again, it totally depends on what is the aim that you're trying to fulfill. But generally, if you with every, like for example, with every light you go up, there is certain addition of features. You may or may not need it, so that's something that you need to take a call for. But those features, it could be in the form of the casing being bigger, which could also mean that the distance that the light is covering is more, or it could mean that the power that is being drawn by that unit is more, so it needs a bigger casing for the heat to dissipate. So there are a lot of factors that are taken into consideration. The cost of a light, when you buy something more expensive, it could mean a lot of other things too. I mean, I mean, I don't know how it's fun for you. I mean, it's definitely not fun for me to answer that question.
Okay, so let's I'll rephrase the fact that it's not expensive, but you're not spending. But does the quality of light get better as you keep as money gets, as you keep paying for it? Does that make more sense to buy other product in the matrix?
Quality, I mean, if you look at the quality of all the lights are at par, meaning the color temperature and um, the I mean, you have to it's just about seeing these data sheets that you're talking about, the isolox
Yeah.
plot, the pattern, all of that. I think it's nothing more than that. So it's like,
Yeah.
how can I put it? It's not okay if I buy a Mac Pro, and
Mm.
all I do is check my emails on it on Gmail. I would never really be using the rest of the power that the laptop has or the computer has,
Yeah.
but it's something that I have at the back. So a lot of we have a lot of bigger engine riders who have bigger alternators, as in who buy bigger lights, and they usually keep it dimmed. So especially I know a lot of GS riders who have their light set on 40% because that's the light that they want to use, and they'll go for the XL80, which are one of the bigger lights that we have in our series, and they would keep it dimmed. But every now and then, when they need more light, they'll bring it up in in power. So what I'm trying to get at is that it's totally up to you on what you want. Don't I would say don't even consider the cost towards making a decision in buying the lights. Of course, you have a budget. I'm not going there. What I'm trying to say is that a lot of times you'll say, "Oh, for X amount extra, I can upgrade to this." If it doesn't, uh, if you don't need those
If you
lights,
don't need
there's
it. Yeah.
no really point in spending there. Of course, if you have extra lights, it's not going to go to waste. But what I'm trying to get at is that you could do what you need to, you could do the task in a much more convenient and easier way by just selecting the right light. It could be costlier, it could be cheaper too.
Got it. So I've got a last question for you, and there's something that went through my mind as well. Um, is do, does aux light put stress on the battery or the alternator, and how do I go about it?
It's I don't know, I wouldn't use the word stress. I mean, does it use it? Oh, definitely. It's
Mm.
everybody needs to calculate their electrical usage on their bike. If you
Yeah.
have a bigger bike and you just don't have many accessories on it, then of course you really don't need to put too much of head on it. But a lot of people would uh, have a lot of accessories, like a couple of charging points, maybe some electric grips, maybe aux LEDs. They'll have changed their LED lamps, etc., etc. So then definitely you need to calculate your consumption over your production, as in how much of electricity your bike is producing, and you need to factor in the type of riding as well. If you're a tourer who is riding on the roads most of the times, then you usually know that you're creating sufficient enough capacity of the alternative, versus if you're like an off-roader as me, where you're usually slow and standing for a while on the road trying to figure out where you want to go.
Yeah.
I don't
Got
think I
it.
should be qualifying myself as an off-roader anymore.
Yeah.
I should not qualify myself
Any
as a rider also, considering I'm
yeah.
riding so less nowadays. Anyways,
Any interesting stories that you have where people have put way too many lights and you've told them, listen, you're gonna light up a stadium? Have you seen those yet?
I mean, I always love such people when they're riding behind me. Saves me on spending those extra bucks on the lights.
Great. I'm gonna end it on this. Is there anything else that you want to let the listeners know that can help them with their choice, or is there anything that you've got in mind that you want to share?
I would say that the color temperature is one of the most important things to me. So always choose a light which has a more soothing lighting temperature, because the pattern and everything, of course, they're important. The lumens is a basic idea, but this if the light is easy on your eyes, and when you're riding for long hours, it's really a boon. It's really ergonomical to be choosing awesome uh, lighting temperature.
Got it. Thanks, Rahul. I think you've covered everything that I had questions about, and I believe a lot of people will find this knowledgeable to make their choice on Aux Lights.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope I was boring enough that you don't get on a call again ever.
No, it's good. It's good to have somebody. Like I said, it's good to have somebody who's on this side also. So I'm glad that I mean both of us have got the kind of information and questions that keep coming, and I mean those are the ones that we've tried to answer through this podcast. So yeah, thanks for being part of it.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. I want to hear your stories, your motorcycle experiences, what you've been doing, and how motorcycles have made your life better. So if you have something to say, DM us on Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to get you on this podcast.